What is up, you guys? Welcome to another Ashen Cast, and today we're having a look at a game that might seem a little familiar because we have a VIEGO mid lane here. And so you might be thinking, oh, is this Ashen or is this neither? No, this is a NA Grandmaster VIEGO player picking up the VIEGO here. You see the masteries, he will be going for Second Wind, which is like the, you know, Second Wind Overgrowth is like the special thing here. Everything else is kind of okay, except, of course, and there's a little bit of a discussion to be had about the rune Coup de Gras, which is this one, right? Coup de Gras. Or Last Stand. So Last Stand will give you damage based on your missing health. Coup de Gras will give you more damage the lower an enemy is. And after thinking about this a lot, I came to the conclusion that Coup de Gras gives you more effective damage than Last Stand. Now this might sound weird because Last Stand can give you more damage. It can, okay? However, Coup de Gras gives you the damage where it matters. So it's a difficult situation, right? Because, for example, a Warwick, right? A Warwick is going to spend quite a bit of time on low HP, so that's pretty good for it. A VIEGO, also kind of a champion like that, right? Where he dives into the fight, takes a lot of damage, and then in the lower HP brackets, he will transform. But then, eventually, you also, of course, want to guarantee the execute on the enemy. So you get the kills, right? Which doesn't really matter that much to some other champion. So it's an interesting discussion to be had. A very minor one at that. So if you are still with your VIEGO still below, let's say, a diamond level, which I am currently, like, I can, you know, play him, have a very good game in plat. And probably nothing to worry about. Just get runes and just try to use them most of the time and just switch up your secondary runes. So just go for, like, here we have the here we have some defensive runes that don't need us to poke. So Taste of Blood, which is like the standard on VIEGO. Red Tree Taste of Blood is really good, but only if you're able to relatively safely hit your Q on the enemy, which isn't the case here, right? So that's why we are going for what we're going for. The mist, this mist position is very good. However, yeah, as you saw there, the problem is that Tristana can definitely bully you out of it. Now, so far, he's done a decent job. The problem with Tristana matchup as VIEGO is that she does everything that you do better when it comes to fighting, except, of course, a 2v2, 3v3. That's where she can struggle. But in the 1v1, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. Now, you can go for the Doran's shield here. This is a very, very valid option. Because you will be taking a lot of damage. And, I mean, this Tristana isn't even bullying that hard. And Tristana could definitely get more out of it. But, yeah, you can't do anything versus the teleport. I mean, I'm not sure that I'm a big fan of what Tristana is doing here. So Second Wind, for sure, very strong. Without a doubt. Second Wind is kind of a micro Doran's blade. Doran's shield, and then you have the actual Doran's shield, so you get so much out of it. And with overgrowth, you then just get a little bit more HP stacking up, right? You can also go revitalize, which gives you a mini set passive, right? So just increased healing. And oh yeah, this is he does live. Alright, he's alive. Well, the problem is Tristana gets to proc her demolish here onto the tower now. Alright, we're getting the... Oh, never mind. Oh, we have teleport. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I would go teleport versus Tristana too, by the way. Now, in the low ranks, I actually started going Cull into Tristana instead. This might sound stupid, but the thing is this. I know I'm going to fall behind. I don't want to fall further behind come mid-game, right? Because this lane, a little bit like an Ahri lane, is a lane where, realistically, I can't do much. Ahri, you can maybe do something pre-5, but not if she's a human being. Versus Tristana, not, I mean, yeah, not if Tristana doesn't. So what you can do is you can walk into her and hope that she uses her bomb aggressively and then W away and just run. And then all in her basically while her bomb is still coming up and then like go for a shot all in. Right? You could do that. That would be kind of you go the Trinity Force path, you go for a Sheen, right? But that's not so good. And here we see him starting to trade a little bit. This is because, of course, the bomb is on cooldown. He has his... Yeah, this is very good. Bombs like this are very good. If she just gets an auto tech in and not more, it's a very good bomb. It's wasted. She can't use it on the tower. She can't use it on the cannon minion. She uses the cooldown, right? The problem is versus Tristana, of course, because she's not a mage. You can't really play a War of Attrition. You don't really have an angle to win the lane. But what you can do is hold out as long as possible and as good as possible, right? So the kind of mini game here is avoid her as much as possible, okay? Avoid her as much as possible and then just play it safe. Here, Tristana is making some really big mistakes, which is amazing for us. Because now that we are in charge of the lane, if this happens, there's some pretty good stuff that we can do all over the map. Viego, very mobile in the river. I've tried this and what I do versus certain matchups like Ahri. What I do versus certain matchups like Ahri is I go water walking celerity. And I get a teleport and I pretty much off of the first base run into the bot lane. Straight up, run there. Right? Flash W on someone. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And teleport back mid and just kind of bide my time. And just chill. So here you got to be very careful with the Rek'Sai and the Tristana. This is a 2v2 that is very difficult to win. Yeah. But it is possible to win. Yeah, exactly like that, right? We got the Zac passive proc, and the flash is going to finish off the Tristana, and that's exactly how it goes. Very, very good job. And yeah, this is the strength of Viego. The 2v2 is always going to be super scary versus a Viego. So if you're playing against a Viego mid, which you will never find yourself in that situation, but if you want to play against a Viego mid, what you need to do is you need to prevent him at all costs. You need to prevent him from being able to run you down. Okay. That's relatively simple because realistically, he doesn't have that many spells. And the other thing is just keep him under a tower, right? Prevent stuff like this. This is exactly what happens if you like free up the Viego, right? So this is why I say like Ahri and Tristana are very difficult matchups, because a Ahri prevents him from running you down, because yes, and Tristana realistically as well. Now in this case, this is a nightmare scenario for Tristana, because if Tristana loses to him, which should never happen, because Tristana should have managed to get like at least a plate more. If Tristana loses to him in the normal fights, it's just over. It absolutely is just over. And well, that W didn't work out so well, huh? And as you can see, it is just over. Because the problem with the matchup usually is that Tristana beats you at everything. She can ult you away, she can W away, she can W into you, and then still ult you away. So even if she goes super aggressive, she still has some self-peel that also gives her damage, right? So she has everything that Viego hates. However, if Viego falls ahead and she falls behind enough, then Viego can just run her down permanently. And it's actually really difficult for her to play the game. Now here, Viego's not winning this. Yeah, you're not winning this. Needs to use this ultimate. One trick on Viego, and this is the most difficult thing on Viego, depending on matchup, is you can use your ultimate to cancel out CC. The way that works, CC comes in, you cast your ultimate. You can do it with a lot of things. You can do it with... let me think. You can do it with Fizzled. Fizzled is a good one, right? Fizzled has this little timer where it goes 3, 2, 1, and then at that point you press ultimate, right? So that's like the easiest. But you can do it with Tristana ult as well. Now you have to be pretty on point for it, because you have to look for the animation, and I mean, you know how it goes in fights. I've only managed to do this once, because the timing is very hard, and I mean, realistically, you don't play versus Tristana that much. I play versus her a bit more on my platinum accounts, but I think on like low gold, I've never played against her. Not that I remember. Maybe once or twice. Okay, so we're moving into the side lane here. I mean, so far, right, the items I would say are pretty good. We need steel caps. Steel caps even versus Gwen gives some value. And they're very good versus Tristana. Very, very good against Rek'Sai. So definitely not a bad choice. Yeah, I would criticize this a little bit. Realistically, right now you could fight Gwen, but looking at how accelerated Gwen is, I'm not sure it's a good idea to gamble on it. Okay. Gwen does not have any stacks here, so this is the point where you can fight her. Yeah. Use the ultimate a little bit too fast. That's fine. We're rotating back into the mid lane. And Ornn takes the top lane. Tristana got a lot of plates out of this, and yeah, this is what I wanted to criticize. Is Tristana you never want to leave alone. Tristana building Static Shiv here. A bit of a question mark. Static Shiv is not a bad item at all. And I've seen some hybrid Tristana. But I think that Storm Razor, even though nerfed, still is superior on Tristana. Because what the item does works very well with what Tristana wants to do. Right? And she likes it a lot, getting some movement speed after her first attack, because that allows her to move in and proc the rest of the attacks. It is what it is. We are going to sit in the mid lane. As you can see, Viego's shove not the best. Viego a little bit of a slow pusher. And he will move finally into the side lane as the bot lane moves over. He has a Zilean support. Zilean very, very strong with Viego. Kind of. Yeah. Look at Tristana. Look at Tristana. Tristana came back here because we allowed her to stay in the mid lane and attack the tower. You don't want that to happen because a Tristana that's behind will struggle a lot in these fights. But if Tristana is even or ahead, then she can do some damage and she can be still pretty scary and she can play the side lane very effectively as well. So yeah, a little bit of a question mark. Now, let's look at the rest of the items. What do we want to build? So for me, personally, I would want to... Okay. This is not a scary one, huh? Flash out of the Rek'Sai. So for me, in this game, I would want to build a Trinity Force because I'm pretty accelerated. I have a lot of gold and I have a lot of ways to get gold. What do I mean by that? Look at the bot lane turret. The bot lane turret is still active, which means that I have a very safe objective that I can play around in the side lane that I can try to deal damage to. Right? So Trinity Force in that case, really good. The other thing is, I'm going to want some HP because there is going to be a good amount of damage that I'll just take. This is from Zyra, right? This is just damage that you take. Odds are you're going to take a WQ from Ezreal at some point, right? Or a W, E, or whatever. Or Q, auto attack, or whatever. Right? 2 Qs. You're going to take some damage. And Trinity Force gives you a little bit more effective HP. This is a very yeah, okay. Trying to get out of here. Flashing into the team. The Zilean is here to revive. And so now we can just walk down the Gwen. Very good job by him actually sidestepping the Gwen Q there. Or avoiding it, rather. Yeah, need to be very careful with Gwen Q. Alright, so he is going for a Noon Quiver here, which means he's probably going for a Kraken Slayer here into another item, which the problem with that, in this game it's pretty good because his team is ahead and he also has a Zilean, right? But in most games, the problem with that will be that you are lacking a lot of HP, a lot of effective HP. So we'll see. I personally am a really big fan of Sterug's Gauge. That is a ridiculously good item on Viego because you just get so much defensive stats out of it. It's so good. It does the job exactly. And, you know, yeah, it's just really good. You can even do some like pretty crazy stuff with it. Okay, so Kraken Slayer picked up here. See what the next item is. Takes another dagger, so this could be a Trinity Force here. I'm definitely not opposed to some of the other builds though. Everything that has a Sheen in it and isn't Lichbane, you can build on him. Okay, so the frozen gauntlet, frozen hammer gauntlet, mallet, I don't know, frozen gauntlet, I think. You can build Frostfire Gauntlet, I think, right? Frostfire Gauntlet, you can build on him. Build it versus a Zed, build it versus a Kiana. Can work out very well because it allows you to get a lot of armor very quickly and kind of allows you that survivability. The damage will come from Blade of the Rune King. Maybe you know, throw Kraken Slayer in, like in this example, but the idea here is to get a Frostfire early on and your goal isn't to be the main carry. Now, this is kind of dependent on what your team needs, right? Triforce is if you need to be the damage carry. Then Divine Sundra, if you want a little bit more sustained fighting power and ability to deal with tanks. Trinity Force, generally the best for playing side lanes. So if you want to push out side lanes, right, like here, Trinity Force is definitely the best for this. You would be taking down this tower relatively quickly. Kraken Slayer also helps you with that, though, in comparison to the Blade of the Rune King. Pretty good. And so Triforce, probably my favorite out of all of them. Divine Sundra, very good versus a very tanky team, bruisery team. And yeah, I would say that Frostfire Gauntlet is very good versus super aggressive teammates. And a very aggressive enemy team that just wants to run you down. Now here in this game, we've already gotten so much attack speed that we're kind of at this point where realistically, you're not gonna need more attack speed. Now this sounds stupid, but on Viego, the problem is that Viego loves attack speed up to a certain point. But then at this certain point, the attack speed kind of doesn't really matter anymore, because you only have a certain time frame and you kind of want to play in a very bursty manner. You're not an Olaf, right? You don't have enough self-sustain that you can just run people down in a Rageblade style, you know, fighting way, right? Instead, what you want to do... Ooh, very good teleport here, catching out the Gwen. Gwen snip snip, doesn't hit. And we get another one. Quite a bit of money in the bank here. As, yeah, once the Trinity Force here is available, this is going to be very, very spicy. But with Kraken Slayer and with Blade of the Rune King, I would have gone for probably a Divine Sundra here. Or a Frozen Heart, because it gives you a lot more staying power and the enemy team has a lot of AD damage. So Frozen Heart, generally not too bad. Can also do something versus the Gwen. So generally not too terrible. It's just, the problem is, at a certain point, your attack speed doesn't do enough anymore, right? So your Q kind of, in a way, scales with attack speed. And the animation kind of plays out faster, which is great, up to this certain attack speed breakpoint, and then it's kind of not that good anymore, the attack speed. Now, still good. I'm not gonna complain about it, especially because the on-hit damage from Kraken Slayer can carry through your forms, right? Or not the on-hit damage, but the crit and so on. So a little bit of crit goes a very long way on Viego. But what I want to say is that I found that getting a defensive item as a third item usually is very good. So having some kind of defense stats like a Black Cleaver, you know, like a Sterix Gauge or Frostfire Gauntlet can be very good. And to me, usually the choice is between the Blade of the Rune King or the Kraken Slayer. Right? And then I get my mythic. And then I get a defensive item. Or get another damage item. That kind of depends, right? Okay, so we have a flash onto the Gwen here. Okay, we will find the Gwen. But you can already see it's getting a little spicy. And we probably want some MR here versus the Gwen. Also probably want some anti-heal. All things that you absolutely hate on Viego, having to buy on Viego, but you know, it is what it is. Trinity Force now available. Trinity Force, definitely the spiciest of all options, for sure. You do the most damage. You have a lot of attack speed and so on. But yeah. Now, we have still quite a bit of money here that we could grab for ourselves. So I would criticize this and would say that this lane could have been pushed out here already. And then you could go back to the Krugs. But we'll see. Now the Gwen has stopwatch. Stopwatch can be very nasty for you if you plan your team fights around executing someone like the Gwen and then you don't get it. You can be left stuck there without much to do. So not very good. So what he did here, by the way, is you can, in the mist, you can get an invisible W. Which means you start casting your W, then your mist, or you cast your mist and then your W out of sight and then you walk into their range. You can get a W out of invisibility. So thing that is very niche. Works some of the time. Okay, so he's fighting here, the Zillion is here. And we failed to just run her down, but we do manage to take down the turret, at least. 3 people with the Gwen, though. Gwen's definitely not sad about this one. No objective to countermap, though. So as long as no one dies here for no reason, we should be fine. Ooh, knock up onto the Gwen. Lands, stun lands as well. Gwen, no chance here to do anything. Alright, very good job. Double teleport coming out to defend. As the Gwen teleport, we still have an ultimate here. Yeah, going to get the Alpha Strike ultimate already. W unfortunately cancelled by the Zyra ultimate, but we have another ultimate, and yeah. This now you need to be very careful though, transforming into the Zyra, as people can turn onto a Zyra very quickly. Onto a Zyra transform, right? But yeah, here we just pick them all up one by one. They fall in. This is exactly what happens if your team is strong enough and you are super accelerated as Viego. You just do so much damage. And you just completely break open the game. This is what makes Viego very scary here, is also his level 16 is a relatively good power spike because your ultimate starts to deal quite a bit of damage. And so, as you can see, this very scary situation. And someone like Ezreal kind of hates Viego because Viego at almost any point can 1v1 you. You don't have any CC. And you're kind of just stuck there hoping that Viego doesn't get a transform and get the incredible mobility that allows him to run you down. Yeah, so here now we are getting the Wit's End. This is the MR that I was talking about, right? And this is why I was not the biggest fan of the Trinity Force, is because now we just have a little bit too much attack speed. Now, again, can you have too much attack speed? Kinda yes. On Viego, yes. It's never going to be a useless stat though, right? It's never going to be a useless stat. For sure. No question about that. But you can hit the point where it just has way less value than some other stats, right? And if you get a lot of that then you have a lot of money invested into a stat that doesn't give you that much value. So, it is what it is. It's here. Rek'Sai. Going to be caught out here. The flash into the tunnel. And we're going to play it safe here. Tristana looking for the Zillion. Now we're looking for the Gwen here. As Gwen goes golden. Tristana's around, but Gwen has to flash out. Will be taken down here. Fight's over. Fight's over, guys. Fight's completely gone. There's a good chance that Viego can lay chase here. Tristana has the ultimate. And here he could have buffered his RN. Could have tried to get that one, but he will be playing the flank instead, looking for the Rek'Sai. Alright, very nice. We'll pick up the Rek'Sai transform. Goes into E, into the Q, and R over the wall. Yeah, Ezreal, not really any chance versus a Viego. Yeah, as you can see. So, Ezreal just easy pickings for us. Now we have some bonus DPS. I would have probably stayed in the Ezreal to DPS out the Baron. If you look at Ezreal items, pretty decent. And yeah, Viego items are good, but these items would have stayed kind of in the passive of Viego. with the Ezreal. So very good. We're moving over to stop the Elder Dragon here. Very good one. As now, yeah, it's just the Tristana transform is also such a scary one. Oh. Okay. A little poorly coordinated, but still more than good enough. Double kill goes over to the Viego here. As, yeah, very good play by him, dodging out the obvious Zyra E there. As he will manage to pick up the Elder Dragon and the Baron here for his team. This guy definitely running this game like a one-man show. Very impressive. Guardian Angel now available to him. Definitely knows how to play Viego, this guy. That's for sure. Itemization-wise, I mean, yeah. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I still maintain my point, right? But other than that, very, very strong performance, of course. And don't get me wrong. These stats, like... Another point is Viego. Viego can look incredibly oppressive if he has a team. But if he doesn't have a team... It's very hard to play Viego. Because... the second that everyone can focus you, you're just done. And this is not so much the case with some other champions, but it's definitely the case with Viego, right? You need to be able to kind of follow your team and play with your team to set things up. But very good job. And I'm very impressed with this NA player so far. And, you know, like a Moz, definitely not a terrible build. Definitely not a bad playstyle. And did handle the Tristana matchup pretty well, which is one of the most difficult matchups. And as it turns out, the key is just don't fight her forehead. Just don't fight her and just fight her in the 2v2 and win that one. And then after your snowball, now you can fight her. There you go. You have a game plan versus Tristana now. Goodbye.